from the past. Account summary. Congratulations on reaching $5 million in assets. I stared at it, heart pounding in the dim light of my penthouse office overlooking Manhattan. But it wasn't the number that froze me, it was the fact that ID accidentally forwarded it to my parents during a late-night haze of exhaustion. The subject line screamed betrayal, my secret life of quiet wealth exposed. As my phone buzzed with an incoming call from Mom, I realized the walls I'd built around my independence were about to crumble. And what came next would shatter us all in ways I never imagined. My name is Alex Rivera, and from the moment I could tie my own shoes, I vowed never to be a burden. Growing up in a cramped two-bedroom apartment in Queens, New York, I watched my parents scrape by on dreams deferred. Dad was a mechanic, hands forever stained with grease, fixing cars that belonged to people who lived in worlds we'd only seen on TV. Mom worked double shifts as a nurse, her feet aching from endless hours on hospital floors, patching up strangers while our own lives frayed at the edges. They immigrated from Mexico with nothing but hope and each other, building a life brick by brick for me and my little sister Maria. I was 8 when I first understood sacrifice. Dad came home one night, his face etched with defeat, clutching a pink slip. The auto shop had closed, another victim of the recession. Mom didn't cry, she just hugged him tight and said, "We'll make it, Mia Amor." We always do. But I saw the worry in her eyes, the way she skipped meals so Maria and I could eat. That night, lying in my bunk bed, I whispered to myself, I'll never ask them for anything. I'll make my own way. It became my mantra, a shield against the guilt of wanting more. School was my escape. I buried myself in books, earning straight A's while juggling a paper route at dawn. By high school, I was flipping burgers after class, stashing every penny in a shoebox under my bed. My friends begged their parents for allowance or new sneakers. I bought mine secondhand, proud of the calluses on my hands. When college acceptance letters arrived at Harvard, no less my parents beamed with pride. But the tuition, a staggering $60,000 a year. They offered to remortgage the house to take on more debt. Scholarships covered half, loans the rest. I worked 3 jobs, tutoring rich kids in calculus, bartending at a dive near campus, and freelancing code for startups on weekends. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. My roommates partied. I coded through the night, building apps that solved problems I saw everywhere. One, a simple budgeting tool for low-income families, went viral on a whim. Downloads skyrocketed, and by junior year, graduation came and went. Mom and Dad flew out, their faces glowing as I walked the stage. "We're so proud, Mio," Dad said, clapping my back. They wanted to take me out to dinner, but I insisted on a cheap pizza place. "Save your money," I joked, but inside it was a rule. Never let them spend on me. I moved to Silicon Valley next, crashing on friends' couches until my first real job at a startup. The tech boom was in full swing and I rode it like a wave. Late nights turned into breakthroughs at AI algorithm for personalized finance advice that caught Google's eye. They bought my startup for $2 million when I was 25. I reinvested every cent, flipping it into stocks, real estate, and more ventures. By 30, my net worth hit 7 figures. I bought a sleek apartment in New York, drove a Tesla, and traveled the world on business class. But home? I visited Queens every holiday, bringing groceries and fixing things around the house. "How's work?" Mom would ask, serving her famous enchiladas. "Good, steady," I'd lie, downplaying it all. I never mentioned the private jet charters or the beach house in Malibu. Asking for nothing meant giving nothing away about my success. It was my armor, protecting them from the envy or pity that might creep in. Or maybe protecting me from the fear that they'd see me as changed, as someone who forgot where he came from. Maria knew bits and pieces. She was my confidant, now a teacher in Brooklyn. "You should tell them, Alex," she'd urge. They'd be thrilled. Deep down, I worried they'd feel like failures, like their struggles hadn't been enough to launch me without my own grit. Or worse, that I'd resent them for not giving more. The truth was messier. I loved them fiercely. But my independence was my identity. Without it, who was I? Then came that fateful email. I'd been reviewing my portfolio late one night, jet-lagged from a Tokyo deal, In my haze, I hit forward, instead of archive, sending it to the family group chat. The attachment laid it all bare. Investments, properties, liquid assets totaling over $5 million. My thumb hovered over recall, but it was too late. The read receipts popped up. Mom, Dad, Maria. The phone rang immediately. Mom's voice trembled. Alex? Is this real? I could hear Dad in the background, murmuring in Spanish. Yeah, Mom, it's mine. They arrived at my door 2 hours later, despite the late hour and the subway ride from Queens. Dad's face was ashen, Mom's eyes red-rimmed. Maria trailed behind, shooting me a look that said, "Told you so." We sat in my living room, the city lights twinkling like distant stars. The email printout lay on the coffee table like evidence in a trial. How? Dad asked, his voice cracking. How did you do this without us knowing? I told them everything, the shoebox savings, the all-nighters, the first app sale, the risks that paid off. As I spoke, tears welled in Mom's eyes. You never asked for help, she whispered. Not once. We would have given anything ... That's why, I said, my throat tight. You gave everything already. I saw you skip vacations, work overtime. I didn't want to add to that. Dad stood up, pacing. His hands, still rough from years of labor, clenched. We thought you were struggling. We'd send checks sometimes, but you'd send them back. I'm fine, you'd say. We worried, Mio. Every night we worried. The dam broke then. Mom sobbed, pulling me into a hug. We thought we failed you, that we couldn't provide enough. And all this time, you were building an empire. I felt something shatter inside me, the wall I'd built so carefully. You didn't fail. You taught me everything. Hard work, resilience. Without that, I'd be nothing. Dad joined the hug, his shoulders shaking. I'm proud, son. We share the burdens and the joys. We talked through the night. Maria chimed in with stories I'd shared with her, lightening the mood. Laughter mixed with tears as Dad joked. So, can I borrow $1 million for a new toolbox? But beneath it, a raw honesty emerged. They confessed their fears of aging, of medical bills piling up, of retiring on scraps. I'd assumed they were okay, but pride ran in the family. They'd hidden their struggles too. By dawn, the air felt lighter. I promised transparency, no more secrets. We planned a family vacation, my treat, to Mexico to visit the village where they grew up. But only if you let me spoil you, I said. Mom smiled through tears. Deal. In the weeks that followed, our relationship transformed. Dad called for investment advice, his voice eager like a kid's. Mom sent recipes, insisting I host dinners in my fancy kitchen. I set up trusts for them, easing their worries without fanfare. And Maria? She just grinned. See? Family's not about going it alone. Looking back, that accidental email was fate's cruel kindness. It forced me to confront the cost of my independence, isolation from the people who loved me most. Success isn't just numbers on a screen. It's sharing the warmth of it with those who lit your fire. Now, when I check my net worth, I don't see dollars, I see the faces of my parents, beaming with pride, knowing their sacrifices bloomed into something beautiful. And for the first time, I feel truly rich.